when you go to the doctor to hear the reports, you hope that you're going to be all right. Well, if you're told that you're not, yes, you're devastated, but hope changes. You hope that you're not going to die in the foreseeable future. Maybe you learn you're going to die in the foreseeable future. Then you hope that you're going to live long enough to do this, that, or the other thing. And then you hope perhaps that you're not going to die in pain. Then you hope perhaps that you're going to die with people around you that love you. Then you hope, and so hope is an ever-changing kind of thing, right up until, in that experience, the time of death. I believe that people live in hope.
If I were to be just casually religious, that would mean that I was accepting those who were extremely religious. You're either against it or you're for it. And I'm against it. I basically hate all religion as a whole.
See, for me, it's always a question of what threatens you. It's the same thing for a person of faith who's having a conversation with someone who proclaims to be an atheist. It can, degenerate into a yelling kind of back and forth and becoming entrenched. So, people of faith can do the same kind of thing, be as intolerant of the other. Yeah, but I think, there's also a place where people who believe and those who don't can have conversation and be respectful and be tolerant of the other. Although, yes, there is indeed a lot of intolerance.
I wish I could believe in a God, but I can't. So, I won't believe. For morality's sake, for logic's sake, for my sake, for the sake of everyone else who knows that it's wrong to look out your window and see people being killed because they don't believe the same thing you do. That will never be right, no matter how many times some guy in a turban writes it, no matter how many times some guy wearing with robes and holding crosses writes it. Nothing will ever justify killing someone else because they don't agree with you.
I think a lot of people who may be atheistic don't understand what it is to be theistic, and that's understandable. But those of us who are theistic, who are people of faith, or people who believe, don't necessarily understand the deity the way they do. And so I think people who are atheistic, lay claim to that by virtue of what they see in the world. And there's a lot of horrible things in the world that are happening, whether it's natural calamities, genocide, children being raped, war, all those things. And do I believe we kind of float around in the clouds with wings and white robes and strumming harps? No, that's not part of my faith stance or my understanding of the afterlife. But I do believe that there is a continuity, and I don't believe in a reincarnation. I don't think there's a matter of coming back. I think we move on, and whether there's another step after that next one, I don't know.
I don't understand why I'm alive. I don't understand why there's a point of there being something when there should be instead of nothing. I think religion is wrong, and I think science is wrong. And I think that we've made a lot of mistakes in science up to this point. We're closer to the answer than religion in terms of science, but we don't have the right answer yet. And I think there's a very high possibility that humans are not smart enough to find the answer. And if there is a human smart enough to find the answer is going to be too complicated for you or I to understand.
Religion is that traditional stuff that sort of, in the past, and even to some extent today, tends to give answers, and God is like, do this, do that, and yet there's a spiritual journey that can be a part of that or apart from it, where people are not so much looking for answers, but you need to ask questions. And so I really encourage people in their spiritual journey to ask the questions: who am I? What is God? Who is God? Where does that go? How does that, it's because people sometimes get frightened around religious, spiritual stuff because they always think, oh, well, it's got to be, here's the answer. somebody else's answer. It's got to be this. And I don't think it has to be that. I think we can turn to the past and we can engage the present from who we are and allow, from a theist point of view, God to speak to me or to you today in ways that you understand, in ways that are relevant to you. And so I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful place to explore. And I encourage people to not be filled with fear or intolerance of either side, but to go and ask questions and learn and explore and become, you know. And at the end, when we finally close our eyes, we'll all know.